Patty. It's all
six,
you.
5.
Good evening and welcome to the Jungle Chasers show, where we hope to entertain you and educate you about the weather. We are a group of weather enthusiasts who love to share what we learn about the weather with others so that they come into the know. My name is Patty. I am the coordinator for Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn. And along with me, I have my other group of weather nerds who I will allow to introduce themselves.
I guess I'll go first then. Hi, my name is Franklin. KD0RSJ is my Amateur call sign. I am the coordinator for Greene County Skywarn. I also assist with the Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn. And I guess you could say tonight my middle name is Wacky Weather Guy. I'll go ahead and pass on to Rodney.
Okay. My name is Rodney. My call sign is Kilo Zero Foxtrot Zulu K0Z. I work as a secondary net control for Regional Skywarn as well as Greene County. So whenever I'm needed, I'm just kind of there as a backup. So I'll turn it over to Kieran.
Yeah, my name's Kieran. I don't have a amateur radio call sign. I'm not in that kind of field yet. I am a law enforcement officer, as you may know from previous. Yeah, you also know me as Killer Bee, and I'll pass it on.
And I'm Steve, KA0SPM, the controller behind the train wreck that is this live stream. Back to you, Patty.
Okay. We often start. Pardon me. We often start with an update on local weather as well as weather around the globe. And I'm going to share here. Let me know if it's going through. Portions of the Missouri Ozarks are now in extreme drought. And that does include Greene County Christian, Stone, Berry, and portions of Lawrence County. And this does not look to get better anytime soon. Unfortunately, the dry pattern looks to continue on into the winter months. And the hurricane that is coming up through the Gulf is not going to provide us any moisture. I can say that pretty definitively as the models are so close in agreement on the track of that hurricane that it doesn't leave room for doubt that we will get much more than any sprinkles out of it, maybe. So it's unfortunate for the Ozarks. We are, the areas in the extreme drought have only received 25% or less of the rain that we get on the average this time of year. And I watched a video earlier with a farmer in Lawrence County, and his fields are just dry. He's already feeding hay. No growth, no green. It's sad and it's scary for the farmers because it can cost thousands of dollars for them to start feeding in that way. Let's move on now. Hurricane Gamma is back to Category 3 in the Gulf in the latest models. Am I still sharing?
No, you're not. But I got the National Hurricane Center graphic up. You
Go
see
to
it?
the track, please. That's what I had pulled up.
Okay.
So again, as I said, the models are in great agreement here. From about Port Arthur to pull my radar up here to about I had it up here a minute ago. not Gulf Shores, not that far over. Um, ah, Morgan City. From about Port Arthur to Morgan City is where they anticipate the eye wall to come in. Right now, sadly, it looks like it's taking a very similar track to Hurricane Laura, and they have not recovered down there. There's still homes with tarps on the roofs, and so much cleanup to do, so much repair to do, and I can hope that the people that are there do everything they can to move to safety. Surge does not look to be as extreme. I mean, there was a 17-foot surge. With Laura, I'm hearing not that bad with this one. The winds are not in favor. I guess the tide is also not in favor of quite that high, but storm surge is still a concern. This is a faster moving storm, so the amount of rain that falls will probably not be as extreme, but flooding is still a concern with 6 to 10 inches. And you can see there's been rain falling anyway. The ground is extremely saturated down there. It doesn't take much for it to flood. And let's just go on into a more general pattern here. And I'm going to see, Steve, I'm going to try to share my screen again.
If you would send me the link to what you're showing, I can.
I can't. It's my radar.
Okay, so if somebody else can retransmit her, I will put it up on Skype.
Rodney, have you got WSC3 up?
Yeah, but I mean, I can retransmit yours if you
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
retransmit hers.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
will. That's awesome, though, whatever you did.
I like the colors.
The green is really cool.
Right, you should have it.
I see it, but it's all covered up in green.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's very green.
Yeah, and is there like three
There's like 3 of
instances
them.
it?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3 instances of it showing.
Okay, so apparently I'm being like it's not gonna work. I'm double feeding something.
So, yeah, just go ahead and... Oh, maybe if I stop sharing.
Oh boy.
Leave it. Go ahead and share again. I'll
Oh.
try a low resolution picture.
What happened? Like now I'm not anywhere.
The
Now
jungle
you
chase.
are green,
Our
and
experience.
there's 3 of you.
Oh my god.
Oh, boy.
What is this?
I'm fine on my end.
Wow.
This
See?
is Franklin of the Jungle Chasers. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties. We appreciate your patience in this time, and we'll be back to our regular programming shortly.
Rodney, what have you broken?
Why is it me?
Wow.
Oh my.
It's you.
I got Rodney on Skype. There, now it's back. Good grief.
We've just got a black screen on
On YouTube right now.
Why am I being
Okay, we got Rodney again.
We got Rodney back now.
Okay, I should still be sharing. You want to try since Steve's got you now?
I'm scared.
Yeah,
all we can
I've got
see-
your
all we can
screen
see
in
is Rodney's
Skype.
face. Yeah, all I can see is Rodney's face at the moment.
Yep, you do. It's me.
Oh, we got that crazy cat again. That is-
Okay, well, what I was
There we
going to
go.
talk about while we're working out these difficulties here, and what's driving the patterns overall on the continental United States? We have an upper level system, as a jet, I should say, that is kind of stuck in a northwestern pattern. It's not allowing Gulf moisture to come into the central U.S., which is keeping us on the dry side. It's also going to serve to turn the hurricane once it gets inland, and it will turn pretty sharply to the east. The track that I'm seeing, if any of it makes it to Missouri at all, the extreme southeastern Boot Heel area might see a little bit of rain from the outer bands, but unfortunately for us, it's not going to be able to fight that jet to get to us. And other areas like Jackson, Mississippi, and out through there, where they've had extreme rains here this fall already, are going to be seeing maybe more. Memphis on up into Kentucky. And again, as with any hurricane, persons that are on that northeast quadrant need to be mindful of any tornadoes and other severe weather that would occur.
Hey, Steve, try my screen again.
Hey,
There it is.
there it is.
See, it wasn't me.
It was
I blame
Skype.
There
I
it
still
is.
blame Rodney.
So what I was showing is just a broad picture of the continental United States, showing where the moisture is, where the outer bands are that are coming in, and just how extremely dry it is out to the west. I mean, you could almost draw a line down the Mississippi River almost, and see the areas that are being cut off from the moisture from the Gulf. So there you have it. And Steve, I think you had something on Great Britain.
Yeah. Let me get that queued up here. In fact, the good news is there are no weather warnings. And apparently for the next week, there are no weather warnings. Now, I will ask Kieran, wet your finger and tell us what the weather's doing.
What, you mean my swimming pool in the back garden?
No, we
And then-
decided it's a koi pond.
Or whatever it is, it's getting higher.
Getting
We're-
higher.
We're gonna
Glancing.
we're gonna send him some lily pads, some koi, maybe a couple frogs.
Well, out on my road, I was driving home earlier today, and the water down at the bottom of my road, because I live on a hill, I'm up the top of the hill, and at the bottom of the road, it's literally over my wheels. It's halfway up the door
Ooh.
as I'm driving through it.
Oh my.
I'm so glad I've got a lifted truck.
Oh, I bet.
So,
Now, I am slightly curious if I could take a second. Is that because you have a Land Rover, don't you?
I have all sorts of vehicles, mate. I have loads of Range Rovers.
Okay,
And
maybe
I
it's
also
Range
have a-
Rover. Are
yeah.
those naturally set up higher, or have you had something put on them to make it set up higher? Over here, we'd call it a lift kit.
One of my off-roader does that. My G-Wagon off-roader
Okay,
that has a lifted suspension on it.
gotcha.
But my Range Rover is on air suspension,
Mhm.
so I can lift it and lower it as I see fit. So I've got upgraded airbags on it. So when it's on off-road mode, it gives it an extra 5 inches of ride height. But if I lower it, I can literally slam it down to the ground.
Gotcha.
So it's quite nice for water raiding.
And Kevin Price in the chat room, he's been in there for a few minutes. He says we should send you goldfish as well.
They would go quite well. I'm sure the kids would love goldfish too.
Hey! The goldfish and the koi could actually live together.
You know, a couple of mollies with those pretty tails.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I'm looking at the radar, as is everyone else, and I can see that the rain stops at the border of Scotland.
Yeah, and you can see with us underneath of it.
That's pretty typical, isn't it? The rain stays on the northern side of Hadrian's Wall, doesn't come south.
Yeah, the rain is normally up in Scotland, but if you look at
I believe
Right,
Scotland is
yeah.
kind of sort of like the Olympic Peninsula of
Right.
the continental United States. It's like almost the rainforest area.
I'd love to put that in motion, but I don't see a way to do it. But you can.
that must be an older picture because I'm only stating what I'm seeing, and I'm surprised you can't hear it off the window.
Mm-hmm.
It's raining cats and dogs out there.
Yeah, the closest rain that the Met Office is showing on the radar is Cardiff.
Cardiff.
Does it have a timestamp on that radar?
2:35 on Friday the 9th, which is just a
Bad.
few minutes ago.
I was looking real quick on RadarScope because RadarScope does have some international radar functionality to it, but unfortunately, the UK is not one of them.
Interesting. I
Maybe
canned it.
maybe it just rains so much there they don't really pay attention to it. Do you think that's true, Kieran?
That's quite possible as well.
Oh boy.
He's spot on tonight.
I got a new program.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think WSC3 has British either.
Because even on my weather app, right here, it even says heavy rainfall forecast until late Friday evening.
Yeah, when it goes to weather warnings on the UK, no, I mean, it may be a different medoffice.gov.uk that we get here in the States. Maybe they're just hiding something. I'm not sure. Okay.
It took a holiday.
Yeah, but if it ends in .uk, unless it's some kind of like filtering thing or something that kind of changes it based off of your IP address, shouldn't it be the same as what they would get in the UK though?
You would think.
Or am I not steeped enough in the voodoo that is the modern internet?
No, I think it's just the UK.
Yeah.
But then, as I said before, I find our weather warnings and our weather forecasts quite bad. I mean, as I said, I've been watching news forecasts, and I look out the window. They say it's all nice and bright and sunny, and I look out the window and just think, really? This is sunshine?
A bit like
I just came in from the car and I'm already soaking wet.
a bit like
That's that liquid sunshine.
Yeah.
it's a bit like a local repeater that states it's sunny in the middle of a Skywarn activation.
Right.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite funny because we had a weather warning a couple of days ago, and yeah, it came in well late because the weather warning should have been out like literally nearly 10 hours before it came out, and because I mean cars were literally underwater.
Oh my. What a nightmare.
But I don't know if that's just our area that's like that or whether it's other areas, because I only really focus on my kind of area. But you know, maybe it's just that we don't have a like a forecast center around here, because I think our forecast center, the closest one to here, is London.
Yeah, but
that would probably seem to make sense if you're only about an hour away.
you're close.
That,
You're close to Farnborough and the airport there and Heathrow. You've got meteorologists like swimming around with the koi in your backyard.
Yeah, but maybe they're not connected to the Met Office. I really
Apparently
don't know.
not.
You'll see what Kevin Price said.
What's that?
He goes, it's raining cats and dogs. Every raindrop barks and meows.
Oh, yeah.
LOL in the UK.
It's like they said.
Literally.
It's like he said in that movie, just for an English summer, which meant a raincoat
And an umbrella.
and an umbrella.
Although you might get carried away if you put the umbrella up, like Mary Poppins.
I have one more to say regarding the hurricane nets or the hurricane. The Hurricane Watch Net became active at 4:00 this afternoon.
Ooh.
And so amateur radio operators, be mindful of 20 meters, 14,325, and 40 meters, 7.268. They will be operating for as long as 2 meters is open, and will plan to suspend operations at 7 p.m. UTC. Primary purpose of today's activation was to line up reporting stations. They will resume operations Friday morning at 7 a.m. on those same frequencies, and will resume conclusion of the waterway net. Once active, will remain in full operation on both 20 and 40 for as long as propagation permits. And please, any ground truth data from those affected areas, in other words, wind speed, wind gust, wind direction, barometric pressure, rainfall, damage, and storm surge. Measured weather is always appreciated, but they do take estimated. This also means they will be on Echolink, on Weather Talk, and associated links that might tie in during this time.
Yeah, and usually there's at least one or a couple feeds on Broadcastify as well.
Oh,
where
those
you can
go
listen.
go anyway because of police and fire and rescue down in the affected areas. So,
Now, I do have one quick question. You said that they're going to resume tomorrow at 7 a.m. Did it by chance say if that's UTC or if that's Eastern or
it's
Central
1200
time?
UTC.
Okay, 1200 UTC. Okay, gotcha.
So literally 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Eastern time. Cool.
So Steve has got something interesting to share, and I know it's a little off topic. Thought we'd do cutesy and then move on to Franklin's presentation since he's queued up.
Well, it's actually, Kieran's talking about he's got a swimming pool in his backyard. We've got the great western desert going on in our backyard, as evidenced by the brown grass out there.
We water everything but the grass.
Right. But I thought I would send you this so you could see what the honeybees are doing to our jelly feeder. This is just crazy.
I
I'm
put
not hearing
old
your audio.
jelly. I put old jelly in this feeder this morning that was all watery and we weren't going to be using it. And it allowed access to the bees inside the feeder. Absolutely insane activity today because it was just syrup. And they were loving it.
There's so many. I couldn't even count them all. Kinda looks
You've
like
almost
some
got
of them
enough
are
there
inside
for
the
a
jar.
hive.
If we had
Yeah.
somebody send us a queen, we could
It's
probably
supposed to
start a
feed
hive.
Orioles. But
Um,
apparently the
but-
bees like it.
that's
well.
more than I've ever
Anyway,
seen on
I'll
that
send
feeder,
you the
and there's
video
usually
if you
100 or
like it.
so on it. But there were probably 1,000 in it at one point today.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was amazing how
people got
many.
stung?
Say it again, Kieran.
I mean, how many times did you get stung?
You know,
They are not aggressive.
right.
Oh, I know that. It just looked like they were flying around quite.
Oh, they were
They
right
do,
around
but-
my head.
Mm.
They don't land on you. They don't threaten you. They don't.
Oh,
They'll
I-
land
I
on your
had
coffee cup. There's a couple that love coffee. Obviously, because every time we sit down, they go after his cup, and they're down in the lip of it trying to get the coffee.
I've
But
had them land on me before. I've never had one sting me.
honeybees don't sting unless they absolutely have to, and
Mhm.
that's usually if the hive itself is being threatened, unless
Mm.
they're Africanized bees, which can be
Yeah, when you just want
life
to run away.
threatening. Right, they're very,
Yeah.
very aggressive. But our regular honeybees around here are not. I walked right up to them with my camera. I can pull weeds under them. Occasionally, one will buzz my head, but they do not. They don't posture like wasps will do, or threaten you. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping we're not inviting the devil in by doing this. I am allergic to bees, but it's been interesting to watch them,
Gotcha.
Mm.
and
They are
and
wonderful creatures.
they are they do so much for the environment.
We've got like an entire ecosystem in the yard. I don't know, Patty, if you saw them do it some more, but we put out some whole roasted peanuts on one of our
Mm.
feeders,
Ooh.
and two blue jays that I saw came in and picks up the one peanut whole shell and just takes off with it. And one came in and shoved one in his mouth and put the other one in his beak and took two at a time. I don't know if they cleaned off that
They did
thing.
not. They had not when I came in about 6. There were still a few peanuts left, but let's see if I can get in. I'm after Franklin's presentation. If I can get this to work, I'll show what we saw.
I think you can switch on your NDI with OBS if you're using it. And
Are
I'll
you
be
talking
able,
to me or Patty?
Patty,
Oh, okay.
because we're on the same network.
Cool.
But Franklin, if you've got your presentation ready to go,
Yes, I do. I've got it queued up here, and all I just got to do is share my screen and then actually start. So if you want me to go ahead and start sharing.
yeah, I think if you're going to use OBS, you are set to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to use it through OBS. You can't. It won't pick it up. On
Okay,
the
it won't. Okay. Let me go ahead and stop sharing that then. And then you may need to walk me through this.
So you want a
What?
screen that gets your screen.
My monitor.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I just need to click the plus sign to add something?
Yep.
Okay, and display capture?
Display capture. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Make sure it's on the right display though.
Yeah. LED
I think on properties you could select that.
display.
You can also do window capture too.
Right.
Whichever
Okay.
it's going to be moving.
And
You want to
No,
turn
that's
off your
not the
background
one.
image on Skype.
on Skype. Okay, gotcha. Let me go ahead and do that here real quick. That's off. And then
Oh boy.
display.
Wow.
You thought my green was bad.
It was just a couple of.
No, it's your desk that's bad. Or
Okay.
it was last time I saw it.
So I'm getting kind of like a tiled effect, I guess. Let me go ahead and pull up.
So if you're sharing with OBS, there you go. Perfect.
There we go. Awesome. So actually, you know what? I think I might even be able to do this without necessarily going into the thing, but let me just go ahead and do it here real quick. And you guys are still seeing my
Right.
first slide?
Yep.
Awesome then.
Perfect.
So as it says here, tonight's presentation is going to be on how frost is formed. It's not a super long presentation, but it's about around 17 slides. So we'll go ahead and get started here real quick. And as always, I like to start off with a kind of a shot that kind of illustrates what the conversation is going to be about. And of course, this is some lovely frost. So let's go into our next slide. What is frost? So Technically, frost is a thin layer of ice that sometimes develops on a solid surface when that surface is at or below freezing. But the surrounding atmosphere a lot of times is above freezing. Frost forms from water vapor, which undergoes a change from a gas directly into a solid state. Most of the time, it does not go into that intermediate liquid stage. In temperate climates, frost mostly occurs near the ground and as a delicate ice crystal. In cold environments, they are often greater varieties of the type of frost available. So how does it actually form, though? Frost forms when there is a sufficient amount of moisture in the air as water vapor. The surface the frost will form on is either at or below 32 degrees, or if you're on the Celsius scale, that would be 0 degrees, which is the freezing point of water. The surrounding air is above 32 degrees, sometimes several degrees warmer. I was noting some instances of the air temperature actually being up to like 38, 39 degrees and frost still forming. The water vapor never becomes a liquid. It goes straight into from a gas to a solid. This process of going from a gas straight to a solid is called desublimation. The reverse of that, which you can see with dry ice, which is just frozen carbon dioxide gas that goes from a solid to a gas state without becoming a liquid, is actually called sublimation. So the air must be humid, but if there's too much moisture, condensation of liquid will occur. This will not result in a frost, but more of an icing effect. The size of the resulting ice crystal depends on a couple different things. The temperature, the amount of water vapor, and how long the crystals have to grow can vary their sizes. So if Steve will go ahead and play our first video, we've got one from the National Weather Service that kind of goes into a little bit more about frost, how it forms, and these different kinds of frost.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit into it. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's the front, the first part of it. Cool. And clear skies enhancing radiational cooling and more heat escaping from the Earth's surface into the atmosphere is kind of part of it. Calm to light winds prevent stirring of the atmosphere, which allows thin layers of supercooled moisture to form on these surfaces, and that develops the ice crystal development. It can form when the official low is above freezing, as temperatures are usually measured a couple meters above the ground. Ground temperature can be 5 to 10 degrees cooler than the air around it. Okay. Cool. And now I'll go ahead and go back into the presentation here. So there's a few different types of frost. In general, you have air frost, ground frost, grass frost, and hoarfrost. So air frost, this happens whenever the air temperatures fall to or below freezing. The air temperature is measured usually between 1 to 2 meters above the ground surface. This kind of frost can develop on surfaces at ground level or above. Sometimes it'll develop on, structures up in the air, maybe trees or elevated surfaces, but not necessarily on the ground level. So ground frost, this is when the ground has cooled to or below freezing. Again, here in the US, 32 degrees. If you're on Celsius, that would be 0 degrees. The air above the ground is often a few to several degrees above freezing. In this case, you would have a ground frost without an accompanying air frost, which happens quite a bit. The next type of frost, grass frost, is actually a type of ground frost, but it's different in that grass frost occurs only on grass and other vegetation. Hard ground surfaces like roads, blacktopped areas, or even concrete will maintain some of the heat from the day and usually are above freezing, therefore they will not frost over. Grass frosts are more typical in fall when the nights are cooler, but the harder ground surfaces still retain some of that solar heating of the day, like I had mentioned. This type of frost is of the most concern to gardeners and plant parents alike. This is kind of one of those frosts that will kill a lot of plants and stuff that's outside. And so hoarfrost, this is basically frost that's created from dew. When the dew forms after the surface has reached the freezing point, it forces feathery looking patterns of crystal ice. When the dew collects on the surface before it reaches freezing, you get a white or silver frost, which I believe is more like what's illustrated in the picture. Hoarfrost can also have pockets of air trapped inside of it, giving it a puffy appearance. And now if Steve will go ahead and pull up our second video. This is actually from the Met Office in the UK. I happened to come across it, and I thought, kind of in honor of our resident UK citizen, B, I thought providing the Met's interpretation of frost would be a good idea. So go ahead and play that, Steve.
In weather broadcasts, you might sometimes hear us talk about different types of frost.
We may refer to a ground frost or a grass frost.
Or even you might hear the words air frost or hoarfrost.
But what do all these terms mean, and what's the difference between them?
In simple terms, an air frost occurs when the air temperature falls to or below the freezing point of water, or 0 Celsius.
We measure the air temperature here, at around about a metre above the ground. If you hear the term frost in a weather forecast, then we're usually talking about an air frost.
A ground frost refers to frosty conditions on the ground, where the surface has cooled to freezing or below. Often a ground frost will occur without there being an air frost. In this scenario, the air temperature would probably be somewhere between 1 and 3 degrees.
In recent years, the term grass frost has become more popular.
Now, this is just a type of ground frost which forms on grass or other vegetation, but doesn't form on concrete roads or pavements because they stay a little bit too warm.
You particularly tend to find it through the autumn months when the nights are getting colder, but there's still some of the summer warmth left in the hard ground.
It means that gardeners and growers especially need to be aware of this type of frost.
A hoarfrost is basically the same as dew, but in colder weather. It brings beautiful patterns, sometimes feathery displays when the surface temperature reaches freezing before dew begins to form, whereas a white or silver frost occurs when the dew forms first and then freezes.
So there you have it, lots of different types of frost.
So when the mercury drops, see how many different frosts you can spot.
Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and proceed. And can frost damage plants? Yes, it can. Frost can damage plants, some worse than others. A light frost, usually between about 28 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, will damage less plants than a hard frost, which is usually 28 degrees and below. The type of plant tissues that get exposed to the frost and how low the temperature gets will all change how much damage a frost does to any given plant. Plants that can be harmed by a light frost would include vining type plants such as beans, grapes, squash, or melons. Also, plants in the nightshade family such as tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers can be particularly damaged by a light frost. Now, I did not realize this, I knew some plants could tolerate a frost, but some actually may benefit from it. So what are those plants that might possibly benefit or would be able to tolerate a fairly decent frost? Well, your root vegetables, such as beets, carrots, parsnips, and onions. Leafy greens, which kind of surprised me, such as lettuces, spinach, chard, and cucumbers. Or do apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, cruciferous vegetables such as cabbages, cauliflower, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, radishes, kale, your collard and mustard greens, turnips, or rutabagas. Now, are there places where it never frosts or almost never frosts? Yes, there are. They are mainly found in the tropical areas of the world. Exclude parts of the tropics that do see some frost include areas above about 9,800 feet near the equator and around 6,600 feet in the semi-arid mid-tropics. The only two areas of reliable frost-free places in the contiguous United States are Key West, Florida, which is illustrated in the picture there of one of their famous sunsets, and the coastal areas of the Channel Islands in California. And with that, Jungle Chasers would like to thank you for watching with a nice, snowy Thomas Kincaid winter scene. And that is the end of our presentation this evening.
Woohoo!
Let me clear that back out and go back to that. And I think, are we back to my camera now? Oh, no. Now we should be, I think, back on my camera. Or, no.
We'll let you sort that out. So
We
you
just need
should
to put
just change the
technical
scene on
difficulties aside.
OBS.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And the little eye, when it appears, you just click it and it goes away. Your camera is behind you, so whatever's on there, your screen
okay.
capture, just turn that off.
And how do I turn it off?
Use the little eye.
Oh, the little eye. Okay. There we
you go. Perfect.
Now I'm going to have to resize.
Well, we're going to have to give you a little bit of learning.
Yeah, I mean, I've done stuff like this back in 8th grade.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, we all had to learn it.
We all have to start somewhere.
So I'm planning on
that's
looking
awesome.
up some YouTube videos, but some in-person studies would be helpful as well.
Where did you get that from, Patty? That's awesome.
That is cute.
Your mic's muted.
You're on mute.
That explains
There
a lot.
we go.
So backing up, Franklin, you were very close. It was coniferous, or I think I said that right.
Cruciferous.
Cruciferous. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As far
He's
as
real
the
close.
little pumpkin, I don't know. Maybe Menards. I tend to do a lot of shopping there.
We were shocked last year whenever we went in there, the amount of Halloween and Christmas stuff that they have. And they even have a decent amount of kind of Thanksgiving or just general fall stuff as well.
That's what I'm really envious of you guys, because living over there, all your shops for Christmas, Halloween, and all of that, they have everything. It is lovely down there. I've been down in Florida for Christmas before, and it is just lovely. And the houses and all of that look lovely. Over here, you'll be lucky to see someone who's put a set of Christmas lights up on the front porch. Or you'll be lucky to see, a couple of bits of Christmas stuff on shelves and stuff.
the local shops and stuff. It's horrible. The only time you can actually get most decorations and stuff is actually online,
Mm-hmm.
and most of it comes from the US.
That's
Well-
interesting.
That's
Now,
interesting.
see, when I was a little tiny kid, like maybe 3 to 5, I remember a lot of shops had Thanksgiving decorations, but probably starting around mid to late 80s, it seemed like that started going away. And it even got to the point where, like, early to mid 90s, hardly anyone had any Thanksgiving decorations. Maybe a few just general fall stuff, but most things were geared towards Halloween. And then I think it's been like maybe the last 10, 15 years. Some places are picking up more of the fall and autumn harvest type decorations, and some of them are doing Thanksgiving stuff again. I was quite happy to see that.
Well,
Yeah,
I want to take a moment and say, Franklin, that was a really good presentation. That was
It
very
was a very
professional.
good presentation.
Thank you. I was afraid it wasn't going to be long enough because most of the presentations that I've done before have been like somewhere between 20 to 30, usually 20 to 25 slides. But I felt like that kind of gave a good basic overview without getting too technical or getting too bogged down into details.
Yeah, no, you got
And
it.
you did
You
that
nailed
good.
it.
You did.
Thank you.
The couple of observations, and this came from when I lived in Northeast Iowa when I was a kid. I have experienced 30 below zero Fahrenheit,
Okay.
and the frost goes up into the air. It turns the air white.
Well, one video that I did see that unfortunately wasn't one that we could include actually mentions that sometimes as the sun starts coming up and it kind of starts heating up, the frost will actually kind of dissipate and it will start kind of creating a fog that lifts up
Yeah.
from the ground.
Yeah. Now the other one is that the white skies are indicative of cold. I do remember a time or two when I'm standing in my yard looking to the west and on the farm, and the farms in the distance looked like they were floating because the white of the snow on the ground, and you could almost not tell where the horizon was. And then there's this big orange ball. And you know what? It was cold, but it was so beautiful, and I've never been able to really capture that. And I think maybe in a future one we will talk about what they call sun dogs, and that's
Ooh, yeah.
ice refraction. There's some extreme examples around the world, but we see them here on occasion, and that's everybody has their opinion about winter. Mostly cold, but there's some pretty stuff.
Oh yes, definitely.
So hopefully we'll get some stuff put together about that one.
You wake up early in the morning and there's either a nice even frost or snow on the ground, and you've got a thin coating of ice in the trees and on the bushes and maybe power lines or like maybe a fence or something, and that little sun comes up and just catches it, and that all twinkles like literally the whole landscape is made out of gemstones.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is beautiful morning.
Yes.
So one thing, one question that I've run across in the past, what's the difference between the frost and freeze warnings? And you mentioned it in passing there. When our temperatures are expected to get to 28 degrees Fahrenheit or below, they will issue a hard freeze warning, and that means that plants will die. Typically 32 and above, if you covered them and it's expected to warm up pretty rapidly during the day, you can take the covers off when the sun gets on them. They'll be fine. Not
That's-
necessarily house plants; they're a little more sensitive, but your other plants. You know, I remember my parents go out and throw tarps on the tomatoes. You know,
Mhm.
and they'd be fine. Or if it was a light frost, they would actually let it stay on the plant, and they would go out early in the morning and turn sprinklers on to get the frost off. And I don't know exactly what the mindset was behind that, if it was to get it off of there as quickly as possible or what, but I remember them doing that. So
That could possibly be because the warmer liquid water would probably melt the ice crystals a little bit quicker. Now, had it actually been like an actual freeze or icing event, I don't know that that would so much, but with just a frost, that might actually have kind of helped warm that up a little bit quicker.
what, and I suppose since we do probably have a few UK watchers, besides Kieran, I think he understands that we don't always think in Celsius. That's
Yeah.
0 to -2 Celsius would be a concern for gardeners and their plants. But when it starts going extreme, one of the other extremes, I talked to Dad a couple
Excuse me.
years ago, and he was concerned that his they live on a farm and they don't have a sewer system. They've got a septic tank, and I remember when Dad and Grandpa put the pipes in, and they were in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 feet below ground, and Dad was concerned that it was going to freeze. That's deep. That's frozen ground that goes down 6 to 8 feet. It has happened, and it's pretty close to here. Certainly not permafrost like they've got up in the Arctic, but that was a cold year. I do remember a year that the river froze clear to the bottom, and it was a simple matter to get fish. You just chopped a hole in the ice in certain places, and they would come right out. But it was a stinky mess when it thawed because of
I
the
bet.
big fish kill. I rode a snowmobile right up the center of the river, up over the dam, because there was no water there anymore. It was just all frozen. It's just crazy, crazy stuff. Down here, we don't have winter in Missouri in comparison.
In comparison, I've seen winters down here in comparison to yours. I remember, I think it was 1982. In January we had a cold snap, and there was not a vehicle left outside that would start that did not have a heat stick in the oil. And my sister was visiting from Idaho, and we were trying to get a ride for her to the airport from my parents' house. And Dad's truck was blocking the garage, so they couldn't get their car out because the truck wouldn't start. The neighbors had a similar issue. My vehicle was in the drive with two cars behind it that wouldn't start. I had a heat stick in my Scout, and I had no alternate path out of my yard. I think one of the neighbors finally did get their vehicle started to get them to the airport, but wind chills were just insane that day. When I lived up south of St. Louis, we were in an area that has a very unusual region because of mountains to the west, or you were living on the mountains, as I did, and the Mississippi River just a few miles to the east. So we had some very extreme winters up there when I was there. Our local weather geek was one of the gentlemen running a gas station there, and he had a MET unit set up to provide information actually back to the Weather Service at the time. And he told us that for 2 weeks our temperature did not get above 20 below.
Ooh.
And the average wind chill was 57 below. we had, I don't remember this insane amount of snow during that time. And just 2 weeks of time, we were shoe skating on the ponds.
Wow.
Blizzard conditions at times. Um, yeah, granted, St. Louis had snow, but they didn't have the extremes in temperature and didn't have quite the depth of snow that we got. And of course, this was before Weather Channel and all that, where they had a lot more information feeding in. So
Was that
um,
Bloomsdale?
that was Bloomsdale.
Now, see, I remember a couple times that it got cold enough that we were kind of down around that. Now, these may have possibly been wind chills and not actual temperatures, but I was saying there was at least one time that we got down like around -15, -16 on either in a January or February. And I remember a handful of times that we had issues with
Y
the
Highway
tow
off
trucks.
of I-55.
Oh, okay.
Did you see
Sorry.
what happened
no,
when
that's
I
all right.
moved it?
changed. It hasn't changed.
And see, because diesel fuel is susceptible to low temperatures below freezing, it will what's called gel. It will thicken up and it will not flow through the engine system correctly, and your engine won't start.
That's a
And
nice
so, of
storm.
course, all of our tow trucks were all diesel engines.
So stop that and go back. Look at the storm. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Franklin.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Leave it there, right there for just a minute, and down where you can see the treetops. And go ahead, Franklin. I have a comment to make about this.
Oh, that's no problem. And so pretty much it's standard for diesel engines to have what's called glow plugs, which actually heats the engine and heats the fuel. I think it also heats the fuel in the fuel tank. Well, I remember a handful of times where it got cold enough, not necessarily below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but pretty close to it, where even when we had our trucks plugged in, that still wasn't quite enough to keep the fuel from kind of partially gelling. So you had to throw a bottle or two of liquid heat into the tank to get the engines going.
Wow.
You commenting on that Missouri thunderstorm?
So I'm commenting on the area. So you can tell from the angle of the camera here how much higher than the interstate this overpass is, and it continues to go up at a sharp angle into town. The town is built on a bluff. Along the bluff, and I actually lived about 2.5 miles down 61 highway, which is the next intersection, very close. And the cabin I was in overlooked the interstate, but you see the angle. It's just the extremes in these hills up there. And when it iced, you had to be careful if you had to get to the interstate. There's a building up here at the intersection that was a hardware store, and if you were trying to turn right onto Y to get, and it looks like they've renamed it, that hardware store on the left there, the 2-story building, you would slide, and they had big plate glass windows in it. Because of the angle, everything was built on there. It was an interesting time.
You would call that mountains.
You would call that mountains. It was mountains.
You see them in the distance?
Yeah. And there was a place called Rocky Ridge. My ex delivered propane, and it was quite a trek in there in the wintertime to try to deliver to folks. But back the other way, yeah, going back that way down 61.
North?
Or south. You want to go south.
Okay.
You go through town, which it's a little bit spread out on either side, but there's not much place to spread out to because you're building on a ridge. Mm-hmm. So everything kind of lines the
It doesn't
the
appear that
road there.
Bloomsdale's a large community.
There was not enough people there when I lived there to have a liquor license.
Ooh,
They sold beer, but no hard liquor.
that doesn't
If
make
you
for a
wanted,
fun
if you
Saturday
wanted a
night.
beer, if you wanted a hard liquor party, you went to the CMA hall on a weekend and took your own.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, there's houses off to the side. There are a couple of subdivisions off the road, off to the right, and 3 miles from that, from 61 Highway, is the Mississippi. But you can see all around. It's very mountainous.
Right there.
I can see where Amazon would be your buddy there. Yes, Amazon Echo. I need a case of this. I need a case of that. Send me 3 cases of this one.
The postmaster was great. Everybody had a post office box. They didn't deliver to your home.
Oh, really?
Right. And so if the UPS guy came, mind you, this was 40, 50 years ago. If the UPS guy came to town, he would go to the post office and say, I'm looking for so-and-so. And she'd say, okay, you go down here and you turn left and go blah, blah. And oh, they're at work right now. So just leave it here and I'll let them know it's here.
Cool.
Town of 400. She knew everybody.
At least she didn't tell him, you go down the road and turn where the old school used to be.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, I've been in them
It
places.
looks like they're still using the school behind the church there. So I noticed in the comments that Kevin said, Franklin said, if we get windy conditions, they might put out a red flag.
I wonder.
I'm looking for red flag warnings by early next week, based on what I saw yesterday in their presentation and how dry things already are. I don't know that it would take much wind to spark that idea that we need to be cautious outdoor burning in the area.
Probably we already should be cognizant of it if, people live out in the county and stuff, or an area where they can burn, or that have, fire pits in their backyards or something like that. Just kind of be cognizant of, I should keep a bucket of water or maybe a fire extinguisher close by.
And if
just
the
in
wind
case.
is over, if the wind's over 10 mile an hour and it's just dry, don't burn.
Yeah.
Just don't burn it. It gets out of control so quick.
You can
You
wait
know,
a few
Steve and I both have a bad habit, and we're both very cognizant when conditions are that way. Well, we don't usually flip them anyway. Ashtrays in the vehicle, and even if your vehicle doesn't come with one and you're a smoker, you can get a little cup that
little
is
cup,
an ashtray.
a can, a empty bottle.
Well, let me show
something.
you what I'm talking about. I'll be right back.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen them. They fit like in a cup holder, and they almost look like a little cup or a little can, and they got like a little hole in the middle of the lid, and you put your cigarette butts down in it, and that's your ashtray. Which, I never thought about it until, well, Mom got her 2008 Jeep Cherokee. Dad bought that 2015 Compass. Neither one of them have an ashtray built into it. Culture has kind of gotten so much away from it. A lot of newer vehicles are coming without built-in
there you go.
ashtrays. Pull back just a little bit.
It's because they.
Okay, there you go.
They're sold separately. It's,
So
when you
you
buy
can
the
get
bit.
these at AutoZone. You can get them at O'Reilly. You can get them. This
Walmart.
one happened to come from Dollar General, and basically it's got a lid with a hole in it, and it's a cup. It's not a burnable plastic, but the way you put your cigarette out, just put it out. Don't drop it in there and cause a smoke fire. That's just nasty. No reason to go anywhere in this world and litter up with butts. I'm a smoker. I'm offended by it. People just flip them. They don't think anything about it. But it is a big deal in that our wildlife can pick them up. They can get sick. But in dry conditions,
How
this
many
is a
of
fire hazard.
How many of the wildfires out west are always every year caused by people who flick their cigarette butts out.
I don't know about that. They've caught about 40 arsonists out there this year so far. So
Yeah.
Wow.
It seems like the best I can recall in previous years, the three number one things are, of course, oddly, number one, lightning strikes, but people who do not put out or properly put out campfires, and people who flick cigarette butts.
I'm waiting for Kieran's comment on that one.
It's because most people nowadays, new cars don't come with ashtrays.
Yeah.
It's called a smoker's pack that you actually have to purchase from the dealers
Right.
to be able to have it.
and
So most people throw them out the window and don't think any of it. I know one time I was driving behind a car, and he threw the cigarette out and it was still lit, and it landed on the bonnet of my car. And
Yeah.
when I got home, I actually realised that it burnt the paint on my
Oh.
car.
On your car.
And there was literally this cigarette-shaped burn in the front hood of my car.
there are places that issue some pretty hefty fines for throwing butts out when it's dry. Texas,
Well-
Oklahoma, they've got hefty fines on that. And if you are seen flipping one out, they will pull you over in a heartbeat. I got out of a ticket on the Cimarron in Oklahoma.
Hmm.
I was speeding. I won't say how fast.
And
I was by
that's
myself, cruising
that's-
along.
that's a turnpike, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
It is. It is. I had been canoeing in southwest Missouri with a friend from Texas. I lived in Wichita, and I was on my way home, and I'm just cruising along. I wasn't paying attention to my speed, and I got pulled over. And the reason I got out of the ticket with a warning, my ashtray was full. When he pulled me over, I was smoking, and he looked down, and my ashtray was full. And he commented, "You don't flip your butts, do you?" And I said, "No, sir, never." I'm very cognizant of that. And so it saved me a ticket. I will not that. And I had this huge bag of aluminum cans behind my seat. Not only had we had our cans that we didn't pitch out on the river, but we had been picking up some trash along the way, and I was taking them home to recycle. So, not that it's going to get you out of a ticket if you cause a fire. I don't know if it could be considered arson, but I wouldn't take a chance.
If over here,
I
it would
think
be.
a type. It may be like something like unintentional arson or something, but I'm pretty for sure, excuse me, that the people who start wildfires, at least in California, from not properly putting out a campfire or flicking cigarette butts, I believe they charge them with a type of arson.
And they should,
Yeah.
at least in my thought.
'Cause-
Now, the other thing, this is camping season.
yes.
While we're on that topic. So for those of you who have camping plans, floats are kind of out right now. Water's so far down. But for those of you who plan to camp through our fall months while we're a bit mild, and the mosquitoes aren't bugging you so badly, and it's comfortable to sleep at night, be cognizant of your fires. Have a water source with you. Have a fire extinguisher with you. And don't leave them unattended.
And definitely whenever you're done with them and you put them out with water, stir the ashes and embers up, and I would even say, if you think you've put enough water on it, put another bucket on it, just to be safe.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
I love Smokey. I've
Yeah.
always loved Smokey.
But yeah,
I must admit, I was waiting for someone to bring that up.
my whole view on it is, at the very least, it's littering. At
Yeah.
worst, it could potentially cause a fire that could kill animals, damage property, heaven forbid, seriously injure or kill someone.
So, I've got a something to mention we discussed this several weeks ago about the damage to the corn crop in Iowa. And it's been a bit of time, so we're seeing we're seeing some of the effects of that. And I could probably give a preview, but I'll have to find the video back. But they are, in some regards, they came out financially okay, because there was a fair amount of farmers who pretty much lost everything, but they had insurance.
Well, that's good.
And what is kind of weird about the whole thing is that now they're being inundated by rain. We're in Missouri, we're dry, but a distance that I think we had a map up some time ago that showed the UK and Missouri about the same size. Well, if where Kieran is, as far as the north end of Scotland, it's too much rain, and they're starting to get flooding. And so probably next week I'll pull together some videos to show what's going on, what the effects are. It's a little bit concerning. I mean, it's these farmers, and I know a lot of people think that there's a lot of just corporate farms and they just don't care about anything but profit. But that's not true, and most of these are family farms that are looking to make a living.
But like you said, the vast majority of them are family farms, anywhere from very small operations that maybe rent fields to work, all the way up to family farms that are as big, maybe bigger than the corporate farms.
Right.
So you've got a wide mix there, but I believe that the federal government has said for many years now, by far, family farms, no matter what size, are the majority of the farms here in this country.
Right. And like I said, I was going to provide a bit of a preview. The interesting, I guess, it's kind of cool because this is a brand new combine. And being released by John Deere this year. And I was going to say, well, hey, you know what? The UK probably aren't going to see these right away, but I took that right back because I saw a video of one of these X9 1100s being delivered in the UK. But this was a bit of the corn crop that was damaged during the derecho. It's in Boone. The interesting part about this is that we have a show it flips between Iowa and Illinois called the Farm Progress Show. This is the Iowa site. It was going to be here this year, and it was canceled because of COVID. And then their real early season corn got laid down on the ground mostly by that wind. Now, not as bad as some of it. You can see that some of that corn is still standing, but this little preview of what's coming up, we'll share more of this information as we go. Now, this is the part of the world I grew up in, and I can kind of share some excerpts of what we've got. You know, what the farmers are facing. So we'll talk about that stuff. And that's the big thing is whenever these guys get into a place where the weather overrides their livelihood, it's tough. And personally, knowing quite a few of the guys that do this for a living, it's like they take it personally. So
I can understand. Not only is it their lifestyle, it's their livelihood.
Right.
I would take it personally.
Right. So I will say this, at least one of the videos that Patty and I watched, that they were completely, what they called it, taking a zero. The federal farm insurance actually paid them out for the whole crop. And
Gotcha.
so it's
Now, do they, if they get a payout for the entire crop, can they still take the good portion of it and sell it, or no?
No,
No.
they have to.
They have to
Disc it
turn it
under.
over to the federal government.
right.
No,
they're-
they disc it or disc it under.
Oh,
they're,
okay.
they're not allowed under insurance rules to take more than what they would have gotten had they had a full crop.
Gotcha.
And
See, I guess I just never thought about it in that terms, that there would be, and I guess apparently this is something that's provided by the federal government, that there would be insurance that if they had a bad crop, or say dairy farmers, bunch of their cows die, that they could recover part of that lost income.
right, yeah, and this dates back to the time when the Dust Bowl drove out a lot of farmers in the West, and
Gotcha.
there was some concern: where's our food going to come from? And it's not just us. The United Kingdom is one place, Japan's another, that the population of their island does not support, the farmers cannot support the population. There's not enough food, places to grow food to feed everybody that lives there. So they depend very much on imports
Yeah.
to keep the population from starving to death, basically. And that was a real
We're
concern in World War II.
We're kind of a rare area these days because, if I'm not mistaken, we produce most of our food here. We do import some, but a lot of it, I think, is like luxury items, stuff that we don't necessarily make over here, or we could make over here, but we like someone else's version of it better, so we import it, but it's not stuff we have to have.
Right.
But on top of that, we produce so much food, we can meet our own needs, plus have a lot left over to export to other countries, like the one you were discussing, that they just don't have the land to put out enough crops to feed themselves.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think those two are the only ones. I mean, I think South Korea's in that place.
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, that's
And
not
I think there's parts of Africa, it's not so much that they don't have the land, it's just it's not very fertile. It doesn't grow a lot of stuff very well.
Right. So, this is all, our weather affects everything, and I think a few years ago we heard about the drought in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And how it affects wheat prices, because they grow a lot of wheat there.
Yeah.
It's a global climate. It's also a global. We live in a place where we trade all over.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're all affected. These hurricanes that occur here in the States, they can have a lasting effect on. A big effect on what goes on in the world trade.
Oh yeah.
So.
And I think a lot of Americans do not either realize that, or they don't consciously think of that a lot of what we do, yeah, it's our own self-governing and it's maybe internal affairs, but because we are so interlinked into the world ecosystem, a lot of what we do, either directly or indirectly, affects a lot of other people who are not Americans.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. So anyway, that's going to be the big topic. I don't know, next week. It depends on what we find. There may be some other event that causes us to do something different. I don't know.
Gotcha.
We blow the way the wind blows.
Well, we
Yes.
do. We kind of have to.
Yes, with the nature of weather being the way it is.
Yeah, you can never pre-plan it. It just sort of happens.
Right.
Yeah, what do you think, Rodney? This is Star Trek, and we've got these weather modification nets that we just, sunny and 86 degrees. We'll just punch that right on up. It's sunny and 87 degrees. Oh, I'm
That's-
sorry, I put in 86. I was trying to charge us for an extra degree.
That's what the 4-9 repeater does. It tells us what the weather's going to be instead of we tell it.
Yeah, instead of what we're actually observing with our spotters.
Good
In other
evening.
words, we
The
don't
time
have-
is 9:00 p.m. Weather is clear and 75. And when
And
you're
it's
sitting,
pouring rain.
pouring rain, yes.
Pouring rain, thunder, lightning. Someone's hollering in on that same repeater. I see a rotating wall cloud.
We've had that. We've had that.
I mean, I guess the biggest thing about our show is we don't really have a plan. We just have a forecast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. That's right.
Well, the
We're
forecast
forecasted
gives
to
you
talk
the
about
plans,
this.
right?
Whoop, no,
No, not so much.
nope. We got a 50% chance of that's not going to happen.
That's right.
Franklin's not finished the presentation. We'll have to put it off till next week. Roll with something else.
Isn't that when they say we've got a 20% chance of rain? That's an 80% chance that it ain't gonna.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
depending on whether you're a glass half full or half empty person.
20% of the people seeing the forecast.
Or you could be in the same situation as me, where even the radar says that there's no rain.
Yeah.
And, well,
Over
I'm
you,
looking
man.
at
It's the what is it? The bad guys. Is it the Polish? The bad guys in the in Europe. They're the ones doing all the bad stuff. So they're blocking your radar, man.
Oh, clearly.
Now I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like in the news there's always something going on in Poland that somebody doesn't like.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're truck drivers.
Polish truck drivers.
Oh.
They're surrounding your house and they're blocking the radar, dude. That's what it is.
I'm not for sure what Kieran's talking about. He said truck driver and not lorry driver, so I have no idea what he's talking about.
So, Kieran, this planned move to Florida, I hope that includes a visit to Missouri.
Well, it would include me traveling the whole of the US eventually.
That'd be cool.
Because we certainly would like to see you in person at some point in the future.
Yeah, unfortunately, with me though comes a bit of a crowd.
That's
You
not
know?
unfortunate.
You've got half a baseball team.
I know. But you know what? If it's nice, we'll set a table up outdoors and we'll have plenty of room and plenty of food.
Hey, as long as you develop that half a baseball team into a decent bullpen, I'm okay.
Matter of fact, we'd probably end up having to rent the, was it the Jordan Hall?
Yeah.
Because there'll be a whole bunch of people that want to have dinner too, so.
So we call it the Justice Hangout.
The Justice Hall, Justice Hangout.
Justice Hall. The Hall of
Oh.
Justice.
Yeah, I think DC would have a problem with that one.
Or one of the pavilions out toward Lake Springfield. They
We-
come pretty
Yeah.
reasonable.
We
Yeah.
could do that.
I think Jordan would get a
Place
kick
for
out
the
of that.
kids to play there too.
What would be really nice would be the boathouse there by the dam, but I have no idea what they charge for that place.
You don't want the boathouse and you don't want the North Pavilion. I'm talking about the one that goes down toward the Nature Center up on the hill where
Up.
we had Jim's.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
that one. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
the only issue I could see with that is the deer that live in that area would want to sit down and have dinner with us.
That's not a
Fine.
problem. But the one up where we had Jim's memorial or celebration
That
of
was
life.
nice.
Yeah.
only problem
There's
with
swings
the-
and slides and all kinds of stuff there for the kids to do too. And, they've already got a grill there. So unless somebody wants to bring a smoker, I'm not opposed to that.
So-
But yeah, we'd have a place to.
So, Karen, it's just a foregone conclusion that you will have to come here, and the family too. So
That's fine. Once I'm over there, life will be an awful lot easier for me.
Not only that, you can come see
Weather will be
the
more consistent.
first major Civil War battle site west of the Mississippi.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, yes, the Union technically lost, but we secured Missouri for the state for the Union.
Well, Springfield changed hands 4 times.
Well, I know, but
Oh,
Wilson's Creek is often credited to have been enough of a hindrance to the Confederacy to have kind of prevented them from ever really getting a good foothold in the state.
we will have a list of things to see.
Oh yes.
So, yeah, there's
And the
just
other nice thing is when we're doing
Plus-
this, it won't be 4 in the morning.
The birthplace of Route 66.
Yeah. As I would love to do the Route 66. I think that would be awesome.
I would like to at least once do like a couple days and at least travel it from St. Louis to Joplin.
So we have come to that amazing part of the show where
Oh, no.
we have a rant.
Oh no.
Rodney,
Hold on.
cue,
I need to find something to hold on to.
cue the rant.
Oh, I have arm rests. Okay, I'm holding on to the chair.
All right, ready? Let's make sure I got
We're
it.
ready. Everybody.
It's so much fun.
Who wants
Please
to
tell
go
me I didn't
first?
Wake up the baby.
I wasn't for sure that was going to hold because this seat's not bolted down.
Who wants to go first?
Who's got a good one tonight?
Well, I've got 2.
Mine's not necessarily a rant, but it is kind of sad, at least for me. So if you guys want to go first, then I can go last.
Well, Kieran spoke up first,
Yeah.
so lay it on us.
We get
Which
buy
one
one
do you
get one
want
free
first?
tonight.
The Polish truck driver or the idiot cyclist I met today?
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
having a feeling with the off the air chat in the last day or two. I'm thinking the idiot cyclist could be interesting.
And now this guy. Ooh. I wasn't a police officer, he probably would have had a black eye. Well, basically, you got a sidewalk, a cycle lane, and then the main road.
Mhm.
Instead of using the cycle lane, this cyclist decides to use the main road. That's fine. Can kind of see, even though it's actually a law over here, where if there's a cycle lane, you have to use it. But he decides, instead of just going to the side, or to the left, he decides to cycle in the middle of the road. And there is about a mile of traffic behind me that this guy is holding up. And then as I go to pass him, quite safely, I'm on the opposite side of the road. I left a nice gap for him. He decides to move closer to my car and whack my wing mirror and pushes it in. At which point I then pull in front of him, I switch the blue lights on and basically force him to pull over. Whereas all of the other cars behind me are beeping their horns and quite clapping as they go by at this
Yeah.
point.
But they were clapping.
Well, I was going to let him sort of get away with it, but as soon as he hit the wing mirror, it was kind of like, nope, I'm done with you. But, and then his rationale was, it's my lane, my road. But,
Oh.
No, this is a road. There's a cycle lane.
Public
Which,
road,
like-
taxpayers' road.
It's just like, oh no, but this isn't the best part. He actually tried to accuse me of being a fake police officer.
Oh.
I'm
Show you
sorry.
just how fake I can
Which
be.
one would you like to
Oh.
see? Would you like to see the badge? Would you like to see the plate on my car?
About these handcuffs.
I mean, which one is it here?
Would you like
Uh,
to see the fake police station I can take you down to? How about the
Got some
fake
handcuffs. I
jail?
got some fake jars, jail bars here. Oh, by the way,
Fake key that I'm locking the fake lock with.
Yeah. Well,
When your
I think
fake
it was in some
public
sort of
defender
ringworm.
comes down.
Well, the guy actually ended up calling 999 and stating that there was somebody impersonating a police officer. And do you want to
Okay.
know the funny thing is dispatch did not qualify the two calls together. So over the radio, they called me to the call.
could you mind picking yourself up
Dispatch,
and
I'm
taking yourself
already
to the
on
dispatch?
scene. Apparently, I'm the fake police officer.
I can
What
hear
did you
that one
tell
coming
them?
down. So what did you say when you got the call?
I just basically says, "Is that proof enough for you?" And then
No.
appa-
Tell
apparently
the
not.
operator to look up this badge number
Yeah.
while you're at it.
Yeah, but apparently he wouldn't shut up, so I just called another officer to the scene, and yeah, both of them ended up laughing at him pretty much.
If- If the TV show Cops has taught me anything, they never have the ability to shut up.
No, and he was just keep digging himself a deeper and deeper hole because remember, it's illegal to ride on the road if there's a cycle path, which I was going to let him get away with until he hit my wing mirror.
It's like, Mr. Fake Officer, would you like me to stop before I reach China?
So I ended up giving him the citation for the riding on the road, criminal damage, which could have been a arrestable offence, wasting our time because he made a false 999 call to try and report me for being fake, even though I'm sat in front of him. Still don't quite know how that worked. But yeah, and as I was writing these out, and he was still going on about it. I don't understand how people are this
My
stupid.
road. I bought and paid for it.
So, as children, they were raised up that if they had enough of a fit, if they talked enough, if they ranted enough, that it would just go away because people would get tired of it and give them their way. And as adults, they make themselves look the fool, but they absolutely feel entitled because they've been raised up to believe it works and they get rewarded for it.
Yeah, that wasn't going to work with me.
Yeah.
I was literally after I had kind of got out of him a little bit annoyed because obviously he just hit my car. But after I was trying not to laugh at him because seriously, this guy was stomping on the ground, rolling his fist up like he wanted to have a fist fight with me. It's like I like, even if I wasn't a real police officer, why would I stick blue lights on my car? It's pretty obvious.
You got that down.
You got one of those cop thingies, you know. You want to think you're a cop. You want to throw your weight around. You.
No.
Do they still
We'll,
have
we'll,
paddy
we'll, we'll be
wagons?
seeing 3 weeks from now. We'll be seeing the feature on the news where you've stopped 4 or 5 people on the highway, killed them, stole their cars and stuff. And
Actually,
obviously.
saying that,
Obviously.
I personally have actually been pulled over by a fake police car.
Oh gosh.
You only had
In
2
a
rants
police car.
tonight.
Pick one.
Because a car came up behind me and then turned some blue lights on, so I moved over, and he moved over with me. So I was like, okay, what the hell's going on here? He got out and was like, "Well, you've just stopped me, speeding." Funny, considering as my radar tells me that I'm going below the speed limit. And he looked inside the car and he could see obviously all the equipment, the radar, the laptop, all of the police equipment. And you could just see his face sort of drop at this point. I was like,
Obviously, we're from 2 different jurisdictions, sir. I'll send you on your way, and just don't ever do it again over here.
And you let him go, and then next thing you know, you're pulled him over. Whoop, whoop, my
I
turn.
didn't even let him get that far because I was just like, okay, well, what department are you with? And he says he's with my department. It's like, funny, I've never seen you at the station. I don't know that car.
I work from home. I
work from-
teleconference in every day, even before Corona.
Yeah, and nothing was adding up with this guy's story, so I just ended up detaining him at the time. Obviously, I rang everything through our dispatch centre to. I didn't know if this guy was an undercover detective or, you know what I mean, something else. But if he is, he shouldn't be doing traffic stops anyway. But nothing was adding up, so I just ran him through, and it turns out that he's been caught 5 or 6 times doing the same thing.
He's undercover as a traffic cop. See, you'd never suspect that a murder or a major, crime squad investigator would be a traffic cop.
The trouble is, he was driving a 2001 Vauxhall.
Now, see, one of my old co-workers, one of the managers at the recycling center that I worked at, Ryan, he would say his first problem was he was driving a Vauxhall.
But yeah, especially as we don't even use those cars. The only Vauxhall we use is the Vauxhall Insignia.
Oh,
which is not a 2001.
I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere here in the U.S., and I think it was a pretty major city. It was like late 80s or early 90s. And it was either on Unsolved Mysteries or America's Most Wanted. Someone was going around. They had got a police uniform, a badge that just didn't look like a toy badge. It looked like a real badge, but it wasn't. They had a car painted up. They put the light bar on top of it and everything. And they were going around and stopping women. I think stopping them for like speeding or tail light out or something, and then assaulting them. But I can't remember where that was at, and I don't know if they
a number of cases.
ever
One
caught the guy.
closest to home was out by Stratford on 744. There was one that I can recall in southwest Arkansas.
Are you talking about the woman who disappeared there from the bridge at Stratford?
The young girl that was driving that disappeared, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about.
Yeah. The guy down in Arkansas, I don't remember all the details, but it seems like there were 3 or 4 people he had pulled over. There was another that I never saw the outcome. I think they caught that one. There was one in northwest Arkansas that I heard about, that they had alerts out to people to be mindful that this was happening. And seems like there was one in Texas as well. And this is all in the last 10, 15 years.
Well, there's a big case at the moment going on in Florida with a guy called Jeremy DeWitt. Oh, God, that guy. If he was over here, I'm telling you, that guy would be something else. He's been arrested like 10, 15 times now for
Nice.
impersonation. And it's a difficult case, that one, because he's basically a funeral director. He's the one that blocks all the traffic to keep the funeral processions in like a line. But he uses red and purple lights, and all of the cars are in the same color as the police cars. So when you look at them, you
People
really
think it's a
couldn't
police
tell
car.
it's an actual like procession car or a police car. And they use a duty belt and a fake gun on the hip, because apparently they do security as well. And it's you know what I mean. It's just all very interesting, because I want to see how that case ends up, because the police tell him not to do it. He says okay, and he goes back and does it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that technically he's not breaking the law, because he's not telling people that he is a police officer. You know, he's not actually out there actively stopping people and telling them that he's a police officer. But on the other hand,
He's presenting himself like he is.
Yeah. He's not necessarily saying that he is, but any reasonable person would think, by looking at the car and looking at him, that he is a police officer.
So he's trying to maintain some type of plausible deniability. Well, I never actually told them I'm a police officer. They just assumed I was.
But yeah, he's actually admitted before now, because Real World Police have got quite a lot of videos of the body cam footage of him being arrested and different things. That he was trying to do it so he would get like bigger clout. People would listen to him more, because people think that they're talking to a police officer. So his reasonings behind it are not necessarily bad. You know what I mean? He's not trying to do anything with it. He's not trying to launder money.
But not 100% innocent
it's
either.
Not legal or innocent, no. So it will be interesting to see how that plans out, because it's quite as I said before, it's a difficult one. Because normally when police arrest someone, they have to have evidence of militia. You know, like he was doing that to...
He was doing it for a malicious purpose.
Yeah, to get money or to hurt somebody, or, you know, or to not follow the traffic laws by using the lights.
Yeah.
Because that's also another thing, is on his vehicles, his motorcycles and his cars, he also has a siren. Police siren, which I don't think the funeral cars are allowed over there. Don't quote me on that, because obviously I don't live over there yet. But...
See,
you did.
I'm not so for sure. It may depend on state and then county and municipality, but in a lot of areas, I don't necessarily think having a bullhorn on your car is necessarily illegal, but it's kind of frowned upon unless you need it in some type of official capacity.
Yeah, because he uses it all the time, all on the videos that they show. He's using the siren and an air horn, and coupling that along with the cars that look like a police car.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good, does it?
Well, because I think where part of that kind of came from was from the 70s and 80s during the heyday of CB radio over here. Most CBs have a PA function on them. You can hook a bullhorn up to the CB, flip a switch, and use it as a public address system. So that's why I said I think a lot of places it's not necessarily illegal, but unless you need it for some official reason, law enforcement kind of frowns on you having it.
I'd love to have a bullhorn to get in behind somebody and go, get out of the way.
I have one.
Yeah, I'm quite lethal with mine because you know when you come up to junctions and sometimes they you get people that sort of urge out and urge out and urge out, and you're thinking, I am still coming, you know. If you pull out right now, I'm going straight into the side of you.
Yeah.
So I go on the loudspeaker and just say, don't do it. Just don't pull out.
Yeah,
Well,
Dad
that's-
had one that, as far as I know, he never used, and of course, whenever he passed away, I held on to it.
That's even more fun when you're driving a big vehicle that you just can't stop. Something that weighs, over 9,000 pounds, and there's
Maybe
some
something like
bozo
a
that
semi-truck.
looks at a great big giant white 1-ton bucket truck with a big bucket on the top that you can see for a long ways, looks at you and goes anyway.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
death wish.
Or this is not my rant, but being Steve brought it up, you go to turn to get into the other lane, and you've got plenty of clearance between you and the next car behind you, and you get halfway over in the other lane, and the next thing you know, they're like 2 feet off your bumper.
Yeah.
And that's actually my problem with the Polish truck drivers. Is literally they just don't know how to drive, because over here we drive on the other side, and compared to them, so they tend to move out a little bit more. So I understand it, so they can get a better view of the road, but they don't have any spatial awareness, and quite often they're riding the center line. So the cars that are coming the other way are literally almost forced into the bush or onto the hard shoulder, so they can not go head on into this big lorry.
Gotcha.
And they seem to think that a 3 car length gap means ride the bumper of the car in front of you.
Well, I think what it is over here, or at least here in Springfield, me and Mom's had this theory for quite some time. They see you turn on your turn signal, and I think they gun it because they just don't want to have to follow behind you. You know, it's this concept, I'm in such a rush, I'm in such a hurry, no one else on the road can possibly be in as much of a hurry as I am. Oh, you're going to get in front of me? Well, I'm going to speed up and get in front of you before you can get in front of me.
That's
I may be
a-
wrong,
that's-
but that's just been my opinion, because I guarantee you 6 or 7 times out of 10, whenever I go to change lanes, as soon as I turn on my turn signal and I barely start to go over in the next lane, the person in the next lane, that's the next person behind me, they always speed up.
Yep. It never fails either.
Either that, or maybe they think they can rear end me, and for some weird reason they think they'll be the first person in Springfield to be the last person in a rear end chain that doesn't get the ticket. And they can sue for a new car or injuries or something. I don't know.
That's another big thing is crash for cash schemes.
Yeah.
So
That
the guy Monday, and I'm going down a street that's got a turn lane in the middle. One lane on each side, turn lane in the middle. Commercial street, and it's 30 miles
what
an
were
hour.
you doing on Commercial Street?
I'm eastbound. I'm headed to the tie yard to get wood.
Ah.
And
Patty's back here, so yeah, wood. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, they
Well, I
got
wasn't-
wood on C Street, right?
I wasn't going for chocolate. But
Actually, is that Janice Lumberyard actually is on Commercial Street?
yeah, it was right near there. And in fact, I'm going the speed limit. I might have been going a mile or 2 an hour over the speed limit. So I see this little SUV behind me, and he's just, and soon as we get through the traffic light at National and get past, there's like a bus stop and some crap there.
Yeah.
Man, he's out in that turn lane just hammering it. You're doing 45, 50 mile an hour down that stretch of Commercial. Well, there was another car ahead of me a ways, maybe 100 meters or so, 100 yards. And he gets right on that guy's butt. And there's a roundabout now at
Yes. Is that Washington?
Washington Street.
Yeah.
Well, the guy
Second favorite.
does normal. He's going around the roundabout. Well, this guy, he just like suddenly just whips and goes the wrong way around the roundabout and takes off down Washington Street. And I'm like, death wish, death wish. Glad he was that far ahead of me.
Yeah, that's my second favorite roundabout in town. My favorite roundabout in town is just down the street from you guys.
I don't have any favorite roundabouts.
These two are like the I think the worst located roundabouts I have ever went through. Now the one on Walnut Lawn, just west of National, I have no problems with it. It's nice and big. The one out West Division by the airport, again, no problems with it. It's nice and big. You can curve on around and everything. The one at Oak Grove and Catalpa and the one at Washington and Commercial, I swear they made them too small. I don't think there's enough space at those intersections to do a proper roundabout, because every single time I get halfway through one side, I feel like I have to brake.
You do.
To go on around it, because I feel like if I don't brake, I'm going to go off the roundabout.
So
it's too small.
The one up here by us is not round. And they couldn't. If you look at
not without
the
taking
houses
a lot
and
of
the
property.
church, and there's no way. And the intersection wasn't square. The reason the roundabout is there is because Catalpa going through is offset. And there were so many accidents there because people can't see, or they get impatient trying to get across, and they never would make a four-way stop out of it. And so they put the roundabout. I love the roundabout. I used to avoid that intersection at all costs. I don't care what direction I was going, because you couldn't get across there. You couldn't turn there. And
I can understand that.
But the roundabout not being round, especially if you're going southbound, it gets a real tight turn to it. Yes, you have to brake to use it, or you're going to be scraping your tire, and it's black from a lot of people trying to speed through it. Yeah. There's also black lines across the top of it where people just don't go.
Well,
through,
they
right.
And going a reasonable speed through it, I feel like if I don't brake part way through that, I'm not going to make the curve.
It makes it look like that intersection is more of a square through than it is. It is not. The lane going eastbound is much to the north.
And I really don't.
The one on the other side.
And I really don't understand what would have been the problem with making it a four-way stop. And even before they started putting in the roundabout, I was just looking at that, and I'm like, they're going to have to take a little bit of property from each of these lots on this corner. This is too small for a roundabout.
I think you should come to the UK and see what roundabouts really are small. I mean, we have some roundabouts here that you couldn't even fit a car round.
It just seems like to me anymore Springfield would rather put in a roundabout than a four-way stop.
Has anybody
We
been
don't have
the
stop signs
atrocity of going into Willard?
Anybody what?
Willard? I don't guess so.
Atrocity of going into Willard?
It's been a long time since I've been through Willard.
Yeah, it's been a long time since
They put two roundabouts back to back. So,
on 160.
Yeah, so going in, you know where the intersection is, where the McDonald's gas station and all that stuff is?
Did they finally open that up?
That is now a roundabout. So you have to go around there, and you'll go just a little ways, and then you hit another roundabout that takes you whatever, and they're still working on that. It's a big mess.
They haven't updated the aerial maps of it yet.
Hey, I can't remember which it was. I was thinking one of them that they checked was Google Maps, and for some reason it just did not pull up the latest satellite image. Whenever we bought our freezer at Menards and was going to have them deliver it upstairs, they almost weren't going to deliver it because they were looking up the address, and whatever site that they were using was pulling up the satellite images before they built the apartment complex, when there used to be a ranch-style house here. And they could not verify that the building was there off of the map, so they were almost like, I don't know if we can deliver to this address or not. And so I pulled it up on my phone on either Google Maps or the Apple Map app and showed them. And they tried it again a couple more times, and finally the last time they tried it, they were able to pull up the current image that showed the apartment building. But I was like shocked. I was like, what is that there? And it took even me a few minutes to remember, yeah, there used to be a ranch style house here.
Who's next?
I got a little one.
Okay.
Sorry,
Go
I'm
for it.
guessing lasted quite a while.
All right, so I'll have to probably keep it short to protect the innocent, but
I thought that was so you changed the names to protect the innocent.
I don't remember the names of the guests in the first place. So a customer comes in, and she was having a complaint of her battery not wanting to charge. And, you know, I mean, my first instinct would be, well, you know, did they use the right charger, that kind of thing. And so we kind of looked through that. I noticed that there wasn't any no loose connections or anything like that, so everything was fine there. And it's just a simple flip phone. I'm not going to bore you with the details other than it's just a flip phone. So there shouldn't be much power coming out of it in general. So the guest basically said, oh, well, I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning and it was, you know, 100% full. And by 9 o'clock in the morning, it was dead. I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, that's an issue. Most phones can last longer than 2 hours, you know. So anyway, we eliminated pretty much everything we possibly could. I opened it up, made sure it had clean contacts and all that stuff. I mean, from what I could tell, the phone was fine. I was like, well, I mean, I guess at this point, we're just going to have to see if maybe there's an opportunity for us to just, I don't know if we can exchange it or maybe, you know, have them get you a battery of some kind. I don't know how that's going to work. So we called up our tech support. Again, we'll protect the innocent. We won't say who the tech support was, but y'all know who I work for, and we'll just keep it at that. So we got on there, got everything going through, and explained to the customer, to the technical support, that this is what's happening. They bought the phone, you know, just a little bit before Christmas, so it's well within the warranty. And he basically says, oh, well, the battery's not under warranty. The phone is, but not the battery. And his first response was, well, did you replace the battery? Well, no. That's why we're calling you, because it's likely the battery's not good. Well, he's like, well, why don't you guys just get a battery and just let us know if that worked? So you're telling me that you want me to have the customer go buy a battery because the phone's still under warranty? That doesn't make sense. And I kind of went to bat for the customer. I was like, listen, I said, I mean, this is kind of unacceptable. The phone's got a 1-year warranty. I would think the battery would be part of that warranty. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. So what are your choices for fixing it? Oh, well, we could replace the phone. I said, well, then why aren't we having this conversation? Oh, well, you know, we'll replace the phone. And then I kind of got, you know, an idea of how he was trying to do it. I explained to him, I said, well, hold on a second. I mean, I know how the warranty process works. A lot of times you'll get a phone and they just want you to replace the battery. How is that going to fix our issue? Oh, well, like I said, the battery is not under any warranty. I don't understand where you're coming from this. I said, if you're telling me that you could replace the phone, but you can't replace the battery, he goes, yes. I said, that's not going to fix our issue if the battery is the problem. Anyway, we went on and on and on. And then the guy's like, well, we'll get another battery for it. We'll get you a whole new phone. I said, then let's do that. And he goes, well, I can't do that. You just told me we could do that. And he goes, well, no, I can't do that because the customer's got blah, 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 and so on. And it's not eligible for that. I said, then why did you tell me we could replace the phone? And that went on, and that went on, and on. And I just kind of went to the guy and said, so what are you wanting me to do here with the guest in the store? And she's getting mad, and I don't blame her. And his response was, well, you should probably just go buy a battery from like Walmart or something. And I'm like, are you serious right now? They don't sell batteries at Walmart. I know better than that, you know? He's like, well, we could replace the phone. I said, okay, let's do it. Well, I can't. And then he went all back again. I said, you're sounding like a broken record. How come we're not coming up with some kind of solution here? Well, there is no solution.
If she's not eligible, why does he keep on bringing up replacing the phone?
Exactly. He's reading a script. I'm working through this.
Because he probably doesn't know what the heck he's talking about other than that script.
I know. Calm down. You're worse. You're madder than I am. But anyway, it's just one of those things where we deal with that. And I mean, I'm not talking disparagingly about the company. It's just maybe the representative didn't know what he was talking about or doing. I don't know. But it escalated the situation to where, you know, now the guests, well, I'll just have to go somewhere else and maybe they can give me help. I'm like, it's the same thing. I mean, I don't know how I can't help you. Me not helping you is not going to make a difference if you go somewhere else, other than if you want to just take it up with, you know, corporate or whatever. But that went on for a good 45 minutes.
And, you know, maybe not 100% to fault the tech guy that you got on the phone with. That may be all the training that he got, particularly if he's a tier 1 tech support, is read this script. If that doesn't work, you know, him haul around until, you know, they either accept it or they decide to do something else or they act to escalate and then transfer it on to the next person.
So you escalated them to the point that they're going to complain to corporate.
Yeah, and how does that help any?
And that's not my issue. That's not my problem. I mean, their issue is between the company and, you know, whatever. I did my part, but of course, since I'm representing that company, it obviously looks bad on me. Like I'm not trying to help. They left, you know, cordially, so it wasn't like a situation where I said, well, I'm not helping you. You know, I did everything I could.
I'm just kind of wondering, because this is kind of something that like a lead or a manager would be able to do, say at like Bass Pro. Would you not have had the option if you suspected it was the battery was bad? Because that's kind of what it sounds like to me. If the battery was full charge and then a couple hours later it's dead, I'm thinking the battery's going. Right. Could you not take a good battery out of inventory, swap the batteries out, and then take that bad battery, if that's what it was, send it back in to like the manufacturer for some kind of credit for it being a defective battery, basically more or less warrantying out the battery?
Okay, so you have a good point, but I guess my rebuttal to that would be, if I sold that phone, I don't just have batteries out of inventory, by the way.
Okay.
All I have is just phones. So I don't have any
so
way.
So you'd actually have to take one
battery
out of another phone.
Right. If I had it in stock. This was a particular model that I just happened to not have. But even if I did that, that's going to be a bad experience for another guest, because I'm not going to go and put a bad battery.
No, I understand that. I understand that. You'd have to defect out the whole phone.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that, but I don't have I mean, as far as my authority goes, I can't override anything. I mean, I'm pretty much set in stone. This is the price. This is what you pay. Blah. Gotcha. You go with it. I can't do warranties stuff. I can help with the warranty process, but that's all on
But you can't actually warranty it.
company. So, anyway, it was just a little frustrating, and so I mean that's my rant for what it's worth. Like I said, I kind of kept it neutral. I guess those of you know me, know who it's probably related to. But nonetheless, that I'm just gonna chalk it up to the fact that maybe the rep just wasn't familiar with everything, because I mean they're doing a lot of cross training and stuff like that, and so I'm gonna let this one slide. But I
it's
tell you
probably
what,
Working
little
from
bit-
home, working from home with no training.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's probably a little bit not knowing kind of what he was doing, but part of that probably could have possibly been with he probably just didn't get enough adequate training from the company.
And again, there's no way to know. There's so many different things. It didn't make for a great experience, and that makes it look bad on me, because I mean, the customer could lash out, and I could get a bad survey or something, and then I get questioned as to why I didn't.
Well, and I mean, even if the customer is fairly understanding, you're the employee that's right there. You're the face, voice, and the representation of the company in front of them.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant.
Okay then. I got one.
Hold on.
So, oh boy.
What's that, live or Memorex?
that was Rodney's oh boy.
That was Memorex?
Memorex
It
oh
sounded-
boy.
It sounded live.
So the other day, this was kind of planned through this week because we've got some warm weather before, warm and dry. So it was a good time to seal the front deck that I built on the house. And it was, 82?
Are you telling on yourself?
I'm ranting.
Uh-oh.
It was 87.
It was 87? Well,
In my mind, it was 192.
yeah.
The sweat was pouring down.
Actually, it wasn't like that. Because I built the thing in hotter weather.
Yeah.
Warmer, I believe, would be
And
correct.
I did all the railing first and then was working on the floor. And Patty came out and we talked about something. And I was done with it. And I stood up, and I swear to God, I have never, that I can remember, experienced tunnel vision before.
Ooh.
But it was there. And I think I scared the crap out of Patty a little bit, because I then said, I don't feel very good. I think you need to stay here. And now, there is a combination of things that got me to that point. One was I didn't eat, which is not good.
And it was 3:30 in the afternoon. He was kneeled down on the concrete of the driveway in the sun.
Right.
Mom will do that a lot of times, and then she gets sick at her stomach.
And I stood up from being on the ground, and it was just like, oh, this ain't good. And if it wasn't for the car, I would have been down. I'd have fell. But it's like, this is not a thing that I've ever had to concern myself with before. And now it is. What the hell?
It
So you're
can
ranting
be
about
kind of scary.
you?
Older.
He is forgetting to eat for whatever reason.
It's not a
This is
forgetting
a recent
to.
thing. He used to come in very good about coming in about 1 o'clock, get a sandwich, and now he just pushes through the day until he's sick without eating. A couple of things of Gatorade is going to spike your sugar up, and then what happens? It
Crash.
tanks.
Yeah, well, it was difficult. It was, 20 minutes it took me kind of to get my
Longer
feet
than
back under
that.
me?
I got you in the house. I got you another Gatorade. I got you a sandwich. I went out and watered. You went and took a nap, and you still weren't right when we ate supper later. So,
there was something, I think there was more to it than just that, but it was enough that it was like,
well,
holy
heat
crap.
exhaustion combined with a hypoglycemic moment is scary stuff. And I was about ready to call 911 or Kieran's
I was,
999.
to be honest with you, would have been willing to let you.
It's a bad feeling. I've had issues where I
That
don't
must
know
be
if it's
bad
my
if you're
blood
low.
pressure or if it's my blood sugar or what, or a combination between the two. But when that happens, I literally just, you almost just kind of shut down. And it's not even a feeling of nausea more than anything. It was more of a like, I know I feel like I'm going to pass out, but I can't. Like, I'd rather pass out, just get it over with, versus, oh man, I feel this and it's going to happen. No, it didn't quite happen. Oh yeah, it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. Your body's just going back and forth, and you're just like, I don't like that feeling at all. When I was working, okay, so in the case of helping Franklin move, when I got back to their house the second time, because we were picking up some more of their furniture, that's when it happened, because I had already exerted myself.
Be right back. Keep talking. I can hear you.
Oh, well, I had already exerted myself from taking the chest of drawers up to the second floor. Well, the chest of drawers fell on me halfway up, getting up there.
I didn't know that.
I'm sorry. It's okay. I'm fine. Anyway, it's just one of those things where it had fallen, and to keep it from like crushing me, I was basically having to just kind of keep the pressure off my legs or whatever. I didn't want it to break my legs. So yeah, I mean, we averted a pretty bad accident there. But what was even worse was Jordan was on the back end of it. So when I fell, all the weight shifted on him. And
he's a little bitty guy.
Well, yeah, we didn't. It was just me and him, And so, needless to say, I exerted myself pretty heavily, and I started feeling it as we were driving back to the other house. And I got out of the truck, and I was like, "There's something wrong." And I just basically just like almost collapsed in the front yard. I just kind of laid there, and Jordan's just kind of looking at me like, "You're right." And Jordan's way of just doing, he's like, you gonna be okay? Right? Are you there? Are you good? Can we gotta get going here. Are you okay? That's just kind of how Jordan is,
Yeah.
And
give me 5.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I calmed down.
I think we needed 20.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, and he was obviously attentive to what I was doing, and it's helpful too, the fact that him being an ex-police officer, he was kind of looking at the signs, whether or not he needed to do something.
He's got some first aid experience.
Oh yeah. So needless to say, that was an experience. But boy, when I about lost whatever it was, I exerted myself and my blood pressure dropped, or I lost my sugar, I don't know, but it was a bad deal.
I just actually on the 1st did my annual visit with my cardiologist, and how I told you guys I've had it before, but particularly the last 6 months or so, I've been having a real bad problem sometimes with standing up, being dizzy, and seeing like flashing lights in front of my eyes, and then the muffled hearing. She's going to try to see if adjusting my blood pressure medicine will help with it, because all my blood pressure medicine that I take once a day, I take it all in one big lump amount first thing in the morning. So she wants me to spread it out throughout the day and see if it helps. It seems to be helping better. But she was telling me usually whenever you get kind of that dizzy, almost like you're going to pass out feeling, she said it's usually due to either a spike in your pulse or like a lowering in your blood pressure or a spike in your blood sugar.
Hmm.
So
See,
that
I
could
got
be
up.
either or both.
I got up. I painted the steps, which is the lowest part of the whole thing.
Hmm.
And Patty came around and we were talking, and I stood up relatively quickly for me.
Hmm.
I mean, I got really bad knees from working on my knees forever, and it's not all that easy for me to stand up. But when I did, I kind of inverted my head up and then stood up, and then that triggered it. And then it was everything all avalanched at once. I was like, oh my God, because I felt fine. I wasn't, right before that, I was like, I'm good, no problem.
And see, that's kind of how it is with me. It will just all of a sudden, it'll hit me, and what I have been finding the last little bit, whenever this has been happening at home, we've been leaving the blood pressure monitor out. So, I grab it or Mom grabs it, takes my blood pressure and my pulse, and I've been finding my pulse is spiking and my blood pressure is plummeting. Pulse usually doesn't go above about 90 to 110, but my blood pressure, the top number, has been dropping below 100. I've had a couple times I think it's went down in the upper 60s, and I've had my bottom number a time or two go into the mid to upper 50s. And both of those are pretty low.
No,
What's that?
Orthostatic hypotension.
It may be. I know I told her that, and she said that's what I would expect.
no,
So
You
she's
guys-
going to try me spacing my blood pressure medicine out, and she said if that doesn't completely resolve it, we will look at other options.
you guys had heard the story about the 4 tons of rock.
Yes. Actually, I believe the last time I heard it, I thought it had grown to 40 tons of rock.
It might be, when it's all said and done, it might be.
That
But
fish.
I, for a couple of days in the heat, moved rock with a wheelbarrow, set stones, set stepping stones, all that stuff, and never had a minute's worth of problem with it. I mean, I'm older, and I sit
You were
on my
not in the direct sun. You
I
were
sit on
not
my butt.
concrete that was radiating heat.
well, I sit.
You
Thank
had
you.
been
All right.
eating.
Okay, let me talk here.
I don't know. This is starting to sound like a presidential debate.
But I would work for a while, go sit for a while, work for a while, go sit for a while. This porch was, you had to do the whole top or you're going to have lines in it. So I stayed with it, and I was right out in the middle of the heat. So that didn't help any. I'm just ranting. I'm old.
Well, as long as I don't have to get in the middle of a domestic, I mean, I'm off duty at the moment.
If he has to start separating you two,
We
You,
are. He's in
over
one
there.
building and I'm in the other, so
yeah,
we're
there
good.
you go.
Except I've got all the ammo.
Oh.
Ooh. I think she
There's a
told
fighting
you there,
word.
Steve.
Nothing to say.
Well, maybe you should show him your arms.
Ooh.
Hey, I don't even know where half of these bruises come from.
Exactly.
I'm just old. I bump things.
Exactly
I-
my point.
I think
I bump things. I get like
I think
bummed
we
up.
need family services involved here, Kieran.
Yeah.
I think
These
I might
arms
need to
aren't
make a
any
few
better.
calls after this.
Hey,
Yeah, his aren't any better.
All you got to do is
You-
press real hard and a bruise appears, and I'm sure
You
she's the
are
same
in-
way.
better health than Grandma was, but for about the last 3 or 4 years before she passed away, she would kind of flail her arms sometimes in her sleep. And I mean, enough where she'd knock like a TV tray next to the couch that she was sleeping on. she'd knock it off and just fling stuff across the room. She could barely hit something, and she'd just get like these almost like $50 size purple bruises all over her arm. I'm sure whenever we took her out places, if people saw them, they probably, what are they beating that woman with? But it was,
Yeah.
or she'd hit
Her
a
own
chair, or she'd hit a TV tray next to the couch that she was sleeping on.
No, I tell you, I've been a lot more physically active in the last week, 2 weeks, and it hurts a lot.
You're not
So,
Here's a tip then: just don't be active.
But he could see the results of his work. It's great. It's
yeah,
looking
the
good.
backyard looks good. The porch looks great. But ugh, it hurts.
Progress hurts.
It does.
Yes.
And I don't want to take too much Advil because I
And
don't
you
want to
see,
kill my liver.
People
Yeah.
say it's love that hurts. It's physical exertion that hurts.
You know the man's tired and hurting when he offers to wash the dishes if I'll go do the shopping.
You know, that made sense today because we had like we could got it all done in a hurry, so we divided and conquered. And the only thing I got to complain about is that she didn't get text messages at the store, and so then she had to make a second trip to go get
second
us
trip.
food, because I'm figuring that our little lunch on the back porch was probably not going to be one of those things we're going to get to do very much after this
Mm-hmm.
because of the weather.
Weather.
Well, another week anyway.
Maybe. Hope so.
Does Patty have a rant?
I do, of sorts. This is Mental Health Week in the United States. Wanted to make a statement there. I had a rant of my own, but y'all covered the traffic issues, so. As our life as it is right now continues with COVID affecting what we do, how we do it, who we do it with, we have to take care of ourselves. And one thing I wanted to get across tonight is it's okay not to not be okay. People ask you, how are you? Your response is, I'm okay. No, if you're not, tell somebody, talk to somebody, reach out. There's things that we have to do and be mindful of. We are social creatures. We need other people. And if we don't use the friendships and relationships that we have built to reach out to when we're not okay, we get ourselves into trouble. And there's, besides reaching out, take breaks, give yourself new checks and balances here. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't watch the news. Take breaks from social media. Take a walk. A 10-minute walk will increase your mood dramatically. I tell folks all the time, the opposite of depression is activity. Stay in touch with friends. And we have opportunities available to us that have never been available before. We have Zoom, we have Jitsi, we have Skype, we have all these, Facebook Messenger. We have our own text messages. Email. But we need that human connection. And I saw a kid riding his bicycle down Grand Avenue the other day, and head down, texting away, and it's like, this is not real human contact. We need real human contact right now, like we're doing, like we're interfacing here. We see each other's faces. We're making real contact with people, even though we're not touching. We need that. Take advantage of that. Get out of the text messages and make contact with people. Make healthy choices. Take care of your body. If you take care of your body, it will help you to take care of your mood, but not just in diet. you've got to relax. You've got to meditate. A state of meditation, a few minutes a day, each day, will help to elevate your mood. Mindfulness exercises. Be compassionate to yourself. Do something good for you every day. Be your own best advocate. Be that a hot shower, a cold shower, a bubble bath. I see a lot of my friends using those bath bombs. Give yourself a foot massage if you're alone. If you have a partner, have them give you a foot massage. Something to have connectedness, but also to take care of you. And set goals for yourself. They can be little ones, but you can do self-improvement even in isolation. Doing some sort of exercise or yoga or something for so many minutes a day.
See if somebody needs to have rock moved.
Or walk
80 tons of rock.
80 tons.
Or
It just keeps going up.
Or something.
What about 100 tons?
Maybe 100.
They'll be here in about an hour.
If your sleep is affected, your sleep is going to have dramatic impact on not just your physical, but your emotional health. And so keep yourself as much as you can to a schedule. Try to keep that schedule every day. Up at a certain time, eat at a certain time. It's kind of like your own daycare for yourself, but it makes sense. Get your body in that routine. And if you have to, use your phone. Put reminders in there to yourself. It's time to eat.
And some of the newer smartphones, such as phones that run Android or iPhones with iOS, a lot of times in either their health apps or health functionality or a separate thing, they'll have like a sleep app that helps kind of keep track of your sleep, helps remind you it's time to go to sleep, it's time to get up, will kind of track the quality of your sleep. Some of them you can do automatically. Some of them you have to manually put them in. I know if I had a newer iPhone that I could do the Next OS on, I could download an app to it that I could actually sleep with my Apple Watch on, and it would automatically keep track of when I go to sleep, when I wake up, my heart rate during my sleep, all these different statistics, and then generate you a report in the morning. How well did you sleep? Did you get good quality sleep? How much of it? Are you getting enough for what you should, or are you underneath? Take several days reports together, and you have a sleep surplus or deficit that's going on, all of which is stuff that affects, like you said, not just how you feel, but your mental state. And there's points whenever you enter in what's called REM sleep, or rapid eye movement. That's actually the portion of sleep where you're actually dreaming. Your brain kind of partially shuts down during that time and resets stuff that can't be reset at any other point unless you're in that REM state. So dreaming while you're sleeping, that's important too, to maintaining a healthy mental and emotional state.
Definitely.
Sleep for me,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you would be one of those people like me that would be running a pretty consistent sleep deficit.
Well, yeah, I roughly get about 3, maximum of 4 hours a night, and it's all broken sleep because little one here keeps me up.
So sleep deficit over time, initially is not a bad thing, but over time, a sleep deficit starts taking a toll on your heart. It starts taking a toll on your other body organs, and stress does too. If you stay in a heightened state of stress, which a lot of us are nowadays, your heart rate is higher, your respiration rate is higher, you're in a state of alert, and fight or flight is in action. Our body's designed to do that for about 2 hours at a time,
Not all
but
the time.
not for days and days and days on end. It drives up heart attack rates, it drives up stroke rates. The other thing that is concerning right now is that suicide rates are skyrocketing, and especially in ages about 8 to about 24. And we have to take what people say seriously. Some people don't want to talk about their feelings, or they're having bad thoughts and they're afraid that somebody's going to lock them up. And let me just say this, at least from the point of view from the state of Missouri. We can't lock you up if you go to the hospital voluntarily to get help, okay? There's a whole difference there in somebody that's taken a whole bottle of pills and they've been taken to the hospital, not necessarily willingly, and someone who is having thoughts for the first time in their life that I just want to get this over with. I don't want to be here anymore. There's help, and there's help that's accessible. And 1-800-SUICIDE, I don't remember the numbers that go with that, but 1-800-SUICIDE will get you to a 24-hour line that will put you in touch with your local suicide hotline that can get you to your local resources. And there's help out there. Talk to your friends and say, I'm in a dark spot right now and I just need to talk to somebody. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling stressed. I don't know what to do. So reach out and be good to you. That's my rant.
There's others. I'm going to block myself out here. And for those in the United Kingdom that might watch our show, these are the numbers for them.
Okay.
The neat thing, I guess, we do this because it's fun. We get on here and we have that rolling laughter that we had when we started. That's important.
Yes, it is.
You gotta do that. You gotta have those moments of that. Because if you don't, then you really go crazy.
Yeah, and you have to have moments where it's all right for you to be sad too, but you don't
that's that
want
part
to
of,
keep
it's okay to
in
not
that.
be okay.
Yeah.
And if you know someone that you think might be struggling, one way you might help yourself, if you're one of those people that doesn't talk too much about what's going on with you, but you know someone who might be struggling, someone who's just recently lost a spouse, someone who is alienated from their children, their grandchildren, someone who's usually a social person that's been isolated by this whole thing, or having to work from home when they're used to being around a crowd of people. Reach out to them. Just say, hey, we haven't talked in a while, and don't start out with the little niceties, but get down and dirty here. We haven't talked in a while and I've been missing you and I've been concerned about you, and then open that door to them. Because in the process, there will be an exchange that will benefit you as well.
Yeah, by helping them, you'll end up helping yourself.
Yeah.
So are we on a 73 round?
I've got one brief little thing. It's not really a rant, just something that I just kind of knew was going on, and for some reason the other day it just kind of hit me whenever I found out one part of it. So Kieran probably is not aware, but the other three and myself are aware that within the last year or so, Springfield Public Schools has secured funding to renovate and remodel several of the schools. A few of the schools are having portions or almost the entire buildings tore down. One of the schools that's receiving some of the funding, and from what I understand it is well needed and overdue, is my high school of Hillcrest. What I did not realize until the other day is that they're not doing it this year, but by the end of, it's either 2021 or 2022, the entire main building, which is the last part of the original structure of Hillcrest, will be completely demolished and rebuilt. That just kind of sort of hit me the other day whenever I found out about that, because, you know, I wasn't one of these kids that hated high school. I feel like a lot of the kids that I went to school with at Hillcrest generally liked going there and enjoyed their time there. I never had any bad experiences at Hillcrest, and I didn't have anything super bad at Reed. Had a few couple instances, never got beat up, kind of lightly bullied a little bit, but not anything in the physical sense. But I really enjoyed going to Hillcrest. I had looked forward to, from a little kid, watching the band in the Christmas parade every year. I was really proud of knowing one day I'm going to go to Hillcrest. And it just kind of seems a little sad to me that most of the building that I went there in a year or two is going to be completely gone.
You're gonna have to hit them up and see if you can do a photo tour.
I would really, really freaking like to go through and see what all has changed since I graduated. Unfortunately, we did, for the 10th year reunion in 2008, they actually did do a tour of the school, and I didn't even go to that reunion. So I missed that out. I was hoping we kind of did an unofficial 15th year reunion, that they would do that. They didn't. They weren't able to. I don't even think they even pulled it together for the 20th year reunion 2 years ago. And again, I didn't go to that one either. I was wanting to, but I just ended up not going. So I guess maybe I might have missed my chance unless I can maybe arrange something else. I don't know whether I can with security concerns at schools the way that they are in the post-Columbine world, but it would be nice to see how that central part of that building has changed. Now, what they're doing right now is they're going to kind of do a facelift of it. They're basically gutting the inside of it. I believe the front doors are staying. The balcony over the student union is staying. They're moving the office spaces. But like I said, I can't remember. It was on the Hillcrest Alumni Facebook page, either by the end of 2021 or I think it was 2022. That whole central part is going to be torn down, and the only previously existing structures that will remain, besides the more recent additions that they had made on, is going to be the gym and the science wing that they had added on here about 5 or 10 years ago. And I'm not too for sure, because I had heard possibly that they had built a new gym after I left. Now, at the time, the newest gym was the Hyper, which they built late 80s, early 90s. It was less than 10 years old whenever I graduated. So I don't know if what they're terming the new gym is still the Hyper, or if they had built a new gym, even beyond that. So it's just something that I was kind of sad about the other day whenever I heard that, because I thought that central part they were just going to remodel and leave. But apparently they're going to do some basic remodel, because I think that was the main part that they had discovered was starting to develop mold. So it was kind of becoming a health issue not to redo it. But I guess the final plan is to eventually tear it down. But now it's going to be really, really cool, because on one of the ends of one of the wings that they're going to build, that's kind of behind the science wing that they added on in like the last 10 years or so. They're going to add another wing right behind it. It looked like it was going to be 3, maybe 4 stories. And on that whole end that's going to face Grant Street is going to be a huge 3 to 4 story Hornet. So that's going to look really cool.
That sounds like it's going to be cool.
Yeah. Oh, I looked at, they had like a 3D rendered drawing going all the way around the whole school building, what it's supposed to look like when it's completed. It's going to be a huge freaking building.
Well, have we got it?
Yep.
For this week, anyway.
Seems like we get longer and longer and longer and longer. This is going to be a 4-hour show before it's over.
We pontificate upon pontification.
Well, if
not
it
saying
gets
it's
to
not
that long,
good.
I will be dipping out about halfway through.
No, I know, but I'm saying it's my fault we have to go so late.
Oh, yeah, I blame you all the time.
I don't know.
Rodney, even
Well-
if it wasn't your fault, I'd blame you anyway.
If it
Ooh.
If it makes you feel any better, the Vacaville Amateur Radio Club started streaming their meeting 2 hours ago, and it does not look like they're going to quit anytime soon. So,
They start their meeting on a weeknight at 9 o'clock?
Every night.
no, it's 9 o'clock. This is their October meeting, but it's
Oh, well,
Pacific time, so
well,
it's
and-
7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock there. I forgot that.
So I'll start and be the guy that says, this is Steve, KA0SPM 73. Thank you everybody for joining, and I had a great time tonight. Who's next?
I'll go. So this is Patty, KD0AEL. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our presentation tonight, our fellowship tonight that we so look forward to. And we hope you learned a little something along the way. Be blessed, 73 and 88.
And I guess I'll go next. This is Franklin, wishing everyone a happy evening. Hope that I didn't depress too many people. And hope everyone enjoys the rest of their weekend. Go Hornets and Huey.
I guess I'll go next.
Falcons rule.
Oh,
And we all agree, Kickapoo rules.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Anyway, again, I'm Rodney, K0FZ, Zulu, however you want to say it. Don't get Franklin started.
Kentucky.
We appreciate you joining us. I know we can be somewhat long-winded at times, but the cool thing about YouTube is you can skip through some of the stuff that may not be pertain to certain things. So, if you can get through all that, it's not usually a big deal. You can get some part out of it. But we do appreciate you joining us, even if you're, watching this later, that kind of thing. And again, we like to get the word out. Jungle Chasers is just kind of getting started. I think we've got well over 30 subscribers now. We'd love to get to 50 by the end of the year. If you know someone that may be interested in our rants or just enjoys just overall just, chatting about weather or ham radio or anything like that, why don't you mention us and see if maybe we can get some more subscribers. So like, subscribe, and join us again next week. And 73 from K0FZ.
and I'll be signing off as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope you do enjoy the videos. And as Rodney said, please do like and subscribe. We do very much appreciate it.
So I guess see y'all later.
Have a good one.
Good night, everybody.